This is Smalt PB32, a historical pigment made from blue cobalt glass. For more information about this pigment, I'm going to read a piece provided by Crema Pigment. Smalt is the oldest known man-made cobalt blue pigment. The term smalt comes from the Italian word smaltare, which means to melt. Smalt is a potash silicate strongly colored with cobalt oxide, which is melted, quenched, and ground to a powder. The origin of smalt is obscure, but recent studies have shown that cobalt was already present in ancient Egyptian blue glass. However, there is no evidence that powdered cobalt glass was ever used as a painter's pigment in ancient times. It is unknown when cobalt was first used in Europe. We do know that around the middle of the 15th century, cobalt minerals were discovered near the border of Bohemia and Saxony. In German Renaissance and Baroque painting, the pigment smalt played an important role, particularly for the depiction of air in frescoes. Due to the fast industrial production of new, more stable blue pigment, the knowledge surrounding smalt was almost lost at the beginning of the 20th century. Smalt was the first historical pigment recreated by Georg Crema in 1977. The rediscovery of this ancient cobalt blue initiated the founding of Crema Pigmente the same year. Today, Crema Pigmente is the world's only manufacturer of smalt, which is produced according to a recipe from 1820. I spoke to Mr. Kramer about this, and he told him a friend of his was working on restoring a church. They tried to work on a ceiling with different kinds of cobalt blues available at that time, but nothing seemed to quite work for it. So smalt was mentioned, a pigment that was long discontinued because of the market fully taken over by industrial-made cobalt pigments and synthetic ultramarine blue, for instance. So smalt as a pigment was brought back to life by Georg Crema. Stick around to see what it looks like under the microscope. From a paint maker's perspective, smalt is also one of the noisiest pigments that I have. where there were many replacements or alternatives for lapis lazuli, Smalt was also one of them. It's quite similar to the azurite I made recently. It starts as a very coarse pigment and it mills into a very fine, lighter blue. The less fine you make it, the darker and deeper the blue will be. It turned out to be a very granulating but beautifully sky blue watercolor paint. I use my dot pens here since I'm not sure if I will carry Smalt in my regular line of paint, but send me a message if you're interested. And as promised, here's a closer look to Smalt. I start with what I just swatched on the paper, and I'm moving towards an unmolded piece of coarse Smalt pigment. I'm changing the depth of field here, but you can see the rich, deep blue hue this piece of glass gives. I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.